In ancient times, people did not have a sense of being part of a nation. Clans, yes, tribes, certainly, but until the 14th century the concept of nationhood wasn't yet integrated into human beings' sense of themselves as a people. In the past few centuries, nations have taken on greater and greater stakes in determining the course of events, an indication, perhaps, of humanity's growing capacity to form collectives that extend far beyond the similarities of customs, racial factors, a common religious view, and responsibility for maintaining a mutual security. The realization of the power of a collective approach to life is a growing recognition that has brought both benefits and serious questions regarding identity and the extent of an individual's personal responsibility to the larger whole. In the past, nations tended to share a common language and belief system and cultural traditions. But over the past few centuries, the dramatic movements of peoples across vast distances in pursuit of a better life have introduced differences that have depended upon integration by the receiving society. Adjustments have had to come from both ends, from the immigrants and from the citizens with historical roots, who often were, themselves, of immigrant heritage traced back to earlier generations. Today, the extent of migration has brought serious challenges to the sense of a shared cultural identity on the part of the nations where vast numbers of immigrants seek entry and acceptance. This juxtaposition, or in some cases, clash, of differences in culture, language, and faith has met with harsh resistance, while in other societies attempts have been made to welcome and integrate those seeking entry. Such is the extent of shifting patterns of migration throughout the world, due to war, economic factors and, perhaps, a vague belief that the grass is greener on the other side, that millions upon millions of people are demonstrating the aspiration and willingness to sacrifice in order to move vast distances in search of a better life. The compelling factor that underlies these migratory patterns is demanding a response from the soul of nations. The increasing waves of migration are presenting a serious challenge to the lingering desire for a racial purity that has always been more of a myth than a reality. Mixed blood runs in all veins, as Alice Bailey wrote and as genetic research verifies. Denial of this is anti-evolutionary and a form of isolationism related to the personality and not to the soul, feeding pride and going against the tide of evolution. The world itself is a great fusing pot, out of which the one humanity is emerging, we're told, for the thrust of the new Aquarian energies is fostering the growth of fusion, universality and amalgamation. Spiritually inclined individuals are well accustomed to thinking of themselves and others as souls, as beings with a higher consciousness seeking to work out their destiny through a form, the personality and its vehicles, mental, emotional and etheric, physical. But the concept that a nation is also the expression of a collective soul is perhaps new and surprising to some. What are some indications of this national soul? Gigantic thought forms dominate human beings and speak through a nation, Alice Bailey wrote. Have we paused to wonder what thought forms might be seeking expression through our nation? We're told that each nation, as each individual, is influenced by two streams of potent energy. One stream governs the soul, the higher characteristics that seek to achieve expression, and a second stream which governs the personality and characterizes its fallibilities and glamours. All too often these characteristics, whether of an individual or a nation, are more easily recognized than the higher ray of the soul, which is destined to achieve power over its manifested appearance and to express its highest contributions to the family of nations. Alice Bailey's writings say that this higher expression is sensed only by the aspirants and disciples of any nation. She goes on to say that this soul quality must be evoked into increased activity by the new group of world servers, implying that all who are committed to world betterment bear a responsibility for identifying the highest, but perhaps hidden, potential awaiting expression within a nation. In doing so they are contributing to the healing of cleavages between nations, for the soul is one. The United Nations was formed some 80 years ago in the aftermath of a brutal, cruel world war and was welcomed as an effort to unite the community of members to work towards goals that promised benefit to all. In the present global climate, the cleavages that have developed in the international community, and in many cases deepened, threaten the mutual agreement which was expressed in the UN's Charter and signed by each nation upon application for membership in the United Nations. More recently, some nations in particular have begun to roll back their commitment to this shared effort and succumb to authoritarian dictatorships focused on furthering a national agenda rather than the larger, common good. Sovereignty lies behind much of this tendency, a sign that the promised brotherhood and sharing which will be the hallmarks of the Aquarian age still lie ahead and that the widespread extent of the conflict is an indication of a looming climax. It's not the government of any nation which will relate the spiritual principle of conflict to the achieving of harmony and bring about the envisioned new civilization, we're told, but rather the trend of the voice of public opinion. As well, the growing stimulation of the Aquarian age is awakening a spirit of universality and fusion. An encouraging example is the European Union project, which is evolving and now embraces 27 member states and a total population of 450 million people. Perhaps this is a visible indication of the collective will of peoples and nations to work together in a spirit of cooperation and goodwill. We also see signs of the new age in business, economic and cultural arrangements more than in the relationships between nations. For our hope, as well, it might be pertinent to cite the urgent demand to share the world's natural resources in a more equitable fashion, so that those nations left behind in the competition for resources won't become an even deeper drag on the achievement of the larger, wealthier nations. Returning to the role of the new group of world servers in sensing and strengthening the expression of the soul quality of the nations, we must develop a higher degree of detachment from the thought forms and values that have been impressed upon us as members of a particular nation, a conditioning that often begins in grade school and is upheld by patriotic traditions, lack of experience of other cultures, and a misguided loyalty to the familiar components that make up one's national identity. Alice Bailey wrote, "Gigantic thought forms dominate the sons of men, speak through a nation, focus through a group. Lean upon your soul." This underscores how powerful the mental and emotional climate of a nation can weigh on the responses of its citizens, but also the need to maintain reliance upon the soul for ultimate guidance. Each citizen owes a duty to be a contributing member of his or her society. The most doctrinaire nations apply loyalty oaths to keep their citizens in line with the leadership, but at the same time one's conscience, one's sense of moral and spiritual values, must be obeyed. The fine line that this poses is summed up in the following words. "The world is one and its sufferings are one," Alice Bailey wrote. Every nation, without exception, has its peculiar virtues and vices which are dependent upon the point in evolution, the measure of control of the soul, and general focus of the nation. The task of the new group of world servers is to sense the quality of a nation's soul and to contribute to its strengthening through education and an informed public opinion. To this each of us can contribute.